But I'm realizing as I get older, me going into the work every single day and coming home and raising my kids well and doing all that, that's great. That's a great start, but that's not enough.
Right.
If I'm not pouring into my community, what am I doing in my community?
That's right.
The town of Prosper, what am I doing for the town of Prosper? And then in turn for, Dallas or whatever community you're in, what are you doing for the community? How are you giving back?
Right.
Because if we all just stay in our own lane and we do our own thing, we take care of ourselves, and everybody has that perspective, and that's all they're going to do, nothing's going to change. So I think it's safe to say things are a little crazy right now when you look around the world.
Have things not been crazy for the last couple of years now?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. What's different?
I don't know. What is different?
The last 2 years. I mean, COVID started. I mean, let's think about the things that we've just personally here in Dallas experienced, right? We had COVID hit. Actually, we had a tornado before COVID, wasn't it? A tornado that came in not too far from my house, and then we had COVID hit, and then we had a freeze somewhere in there.
February of this year.
We shut everything down. What else?
And I mean, not to mention, in the midst of all that, we go through one of the most publicized elections ever in history.
The most publicized, yep.
And then
the most voted on election ever, as well.
That's right. That's right. And then, and layer onto all of that, right? The racial divide.
Yep.
I mean, gun violence, a lot of controversy surrounding that topic. There's just,
lately you've got Afghanistan.
Yes.
You've got things that for whatever reason, don't get publicized as much as they should. We had a conversation very early in this podcast about human sex trafficking. Mm-hmm. Nobody talks about that.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about, kids abusing drugs, the homeless. Yeah. There's so many issues out there. Mm-hmm. I mean, countless issues. And I think on this podcast, we've always not avoided these discussions, but we've always kind of thought of this as an escape.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And a way to not have, you hear about this stuff every day, all day long. That's what's being forced down your throat if you're paying attention.
Yeah.
And so we've always kind of taken the stance that, hey, we want to be an escape.
Yeah.
Having said that, right. Yeah. Having said that, I think it's important to bring up these issues and how we can filter them through the lens of what we're trying to accomplish here, which is, like you said, Tyler, encouragement, hope. So when everything around you is spinning and it seems crazy, how can we, us three, starting here, how can we have a ripple effect that eventually changes things and heads things in the right direction? Another thing we haven't mentioned is the lockdowns from COVID. Yeah. Right? I don't know if you guys have seen Australia right now is on a full-on, like, arresting teenagers for being outside type lockdown. Like, it's absolutely insane. So when people are getting wronged, if you will, or when things are going bad in other parts of the country or the world, at least for me, I have this feeling of hopelessness and helplessness. And is there really anything I can do about it? No, probably not. Okay, I'm just going to go about living my life and going about my day.
Right.
Because there's really nothing I can do about it. So what I'm hoping today is that we can shut down that initial reaction that I have, at least, and think, okay, what steps can we take? Yeah, maybe we can't shut down human sex trafficking from this podcast, but there's things that we can take care of that hopefully have a ripple effect that eventually can handle some of these issues. Mm-hmm. These issues didn't happen overnight. They're not going to be cured overnight. I think that's the big thing right now that I see a lot of is all these people freaking out and thinking there has to be a quick fix. There's not a quick fix. So that's what I want to kind of riff with you guys about and discuss through. And the reason this is brought up, obviously number one, because I do pay attention to this stuff more so than you two do. But the way that I react and act to it is no better than somebody who doesn't pay attention at all. I'm not doing anything about it. I'm just paying attention to it. Like my wife the other day, she was like, I haven't even turned on the news in 2 weeks. I don't even know what's going on right now.
Bro, I could probably say, unless there's like a tornado coming through, I haven't turned the news on in 2 years.
Right. And so that And what made me think of that, and I'm not calling her out, but that's a problem, right? If you're just not aware at all.
Yeah. Right.
But the other problem, the more severe problem, the more hypocritical problem is me, which is I am aware, and yet I'm not doing a damn thing about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's start on that. Let's start on just being informed. I think that's got to be the first step. Is you have to know what's going on around you to really have an educated position. Because it's hard. And where I've gone the complete opposite. And like you said, like I'm not doing anything good. Like I'm not impacting my community for the better on some of these larger issues because I just don't even know what's going on. The challenge that I have is I don't know where to get unbiased information.
Absolutely. That's the key. Because that is the key.
I don't think it's going to happen.
Where is the number one source that people are getting information these days?
Twitter.
Social media.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? That's where people think that they're getting their news. And there's zero accountability, zero credibility. You can layer in censorship that's being imposed on these platforms one way or the other, however you stand. Like, so how are you like extrapolating this information and these updates from a source that is not skewed one way or the other? And I mean, the news now is no better. Yeah. I mean, based off what network you watch and what you believe in.
Yeah. And I would say, look, there's a lot to that, Tyler. And you just hit it on the head. Is the news that we're getting is so polarizing, and it's causing divisions more so. And I'm talking about there's always been the normal divisions. Now it's like in-house divisions. Like
they're just finding stuff to create division between people.
Exactly. And we're so exposed to all the negative sides of these things. And then we want to formalize our own opinion. And now we all have to be right. Mm-hmm. There is no gray areas. There's no mediums there. It's just, I'm right, you're wrong. And this is the first time in my lifetime that over the last 5 or 6 years that it's gotten this way. Yeah. And that's the hard part of taking in information is the information. I think you have to do your own research, one, but you also have to do we all have to do a better job of seeing what's the opposite side.
Yeah, that's right.
The opposite point of view and take it in instead of putting up these walls, just listen to and it may give you some perspective if you just listen to the opposite side as well. And I think that's where we are now. It's just we're putting up these walls and we're unwilling to hear the opposing views.
So where's Ben? I mean, like you said, you track this a lot, but where is your go-to space to say, okay, hey, look, I see all this noise, I see all this fighting over a topic, but if I really truly want to say, okay, hey, look, I'm trying to get the most accurate information I can. Like for you, where do you go for that?
That's a good question.
I mean, is it MSNBC? Is it BBC?
No, I don't know. No, it's mostly podcasts.
Okay.
Political podcasts or, people that I follow. Uh-huh. I can't say the last time I turned on the TV and watched a news station. Yeah. I definitely don't do that.
Yeah.
YouTube, Twitter. So to me, the issue personally is not about if I decide, is this information good or is this information bad? I think I have a sense that there is a lot of crap. There is a lot of chaos. Mm-hmm. Whether it's being given to me truthfully or not, there's chaos going on. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm trying to figure out and what I'm hoping we can talk about is not so much riff on the problems, because that's been laid out there a million times. It's what can we do about the problems?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And how can we all start to focus on a solution as opposed to continuing bitching about the issues? So another problem, let's lay it out there, put all the problems out there on the table for is poor leadership.
Yeah,
and how do you deal with poor leadership?
Yeah.
And so what can we do as individuals? What can we do as with our families? That's kind of what I wanted to take this conversation so that people can leave here at the end of this thinking, okay, I may not be able to change the entire world, but I can do this, this, and this to start helping with that.
Right. And I will start off with this because I think there's 3 people in my lifetime that I can look at and said that they applied leadership to the fullest, like true leadership. One was my mother. The other one was Lovey Smith when I was in college, and then Bill Parcells, and how they applied it. And all 3 of them did one thing. It's through the storm, through the chaos, and through all the yelling and screaming, they stayed calm. They stayed calm through all that chaos. And if you can, and I notice it even as a father, and I think we had a guest on that talked about we read the book talking about taking the emotions out of the chatter that's going on, taking the emotions, stepping back, taking all the emotions out of it, and then seeing both sides. That's true leadership. That is true leadership, because the one thing you do see in a lot of people, and we're seeing it now, is the chaos. And through the chaos of people we think are leaders, they're making all these crazy comments and they're flying off saying crazy things,
blaming other people,
blaming other folks. Like, that's not leadership. Jocko, even the extreme ownership, man, it tells you to look within. And I think a lot of what we see outside, we can apply this to our families. When things are going chaotic, my brother died a couple of years ago. Chaos, man. It was just the emotions. It was my mother. It was, family coming in, and he's dying, man. He's sitting on his bed, and people are crying. It was him looking at me and knowing that I was going to take care of everything. Like, I was going to handle his daughters. I was going to make sure the situation's right. And he's always looked to me that way, because he knew throughout this whole chaos that I was going to keep a level head through this. That's where your leadership is.
Yeah, I agree. I think so. There's two things. There's a precursor to what you're talking about, right? Level head, making sure you're composed, seeing both sides, asking questions. But like everything else in today's society, we want instant gratification. We want change right this moment. It took us 2 decades of prosperity, really, to get to where we're at today. What a lot of people would say is chaotic, right? It doesn't happen overnight. So let's also remember, as parents, as mentors, as teachers, as coaches, it's imperative that you really truly pour into the younger generation, because the problems aren't going to get fixed overnight. The left side and the right side aren't just going to wake up one day and be like, oh, you know what? We all agree. Right. We're going to move forward. So let's make sure that we are planning for the next 10, 20, 30 years, creating leaders that can do what Darren was just talking about. Be able to hear an issue, hear a complaint, hear pain, hear suffering, and be able to understand it from both sides. Being able to ask questions. It's funny, on my coaching sessions, this was a few weeks ago, my coach said something about being a white, straight guy in culture today is we don't understand suffering, and we don't understand pain, therefore we're soft. And I reacted. I totally reacted. Like you're saying not to do, is I reacted. It's like, no, I think that's BS. And then he said something else. And I was like, I don't think, because I see my brothers as brothers, right? And so don't identify me because of how I look and my sexual preference. Don't look at me and tell me that I'm one way just because I'm one way. And I got all worked up, and then it turned into all these things. And then at the very end, he says, Tyler, you're above this. Don't let that get you. Yeah. Don't let that get you worked up and reacted, because you didn't hear a word I said after anything, after that one thing. Yeah. And you were just reacting, defending, attacking. This is what's wrong with this is what's wrong with that. He goes, that's not how you handle it. Yeah. And I was guilty of it, because one, I was defending myself, but then I was defending my brothers that look different, brothers and sisters that look different from me. But I just went straight defense mode, and there was zero collaboration, zero understanding, zero empathy. It was just,
you ready to fight,
mount up,
defend yourself. Yeah,
and that's what's wrong.
Yeah, I think that's step number one, is what you guys are saying. Step number one, with everything's going chaotic with the world right now, is how do you handle you? That's the first thing you got to take care of, is how do you react? Do you react emotionally? Do you have all the answers before you act? What do you do? Are you taking care of yourself and your mental health? Are you taking care of your physical health? What are you doing personally as everything's going on around you? I think that's step number one. is take care of yourself and make sure that you are leading yourself and leading those around you. And then after that, Tyler, I think you alluded to this. If you have kids, if you have a spouse, now you got to turn attention to them. My 4-year-old, about to be 5-year-old, doesn't know anything about Afghanistan, doesn't know anything about racism, doesn't know anything about poor leadership. He only knows the world that is his. So it's up to me as a father, as his father, to raise him up in the direction that I think he should be raised. He's going to get all that information from me now because he's not in school yet. So that's where it starts. I'm not going to raise a terrorist son or a racist son so that's where it starts. It starts in the home. Right. It starts with my child because he's the next generation. He's the one that's going to inherit this earth after we're gone. So if I can start with him and he has this mentality, he has this work ethic, he has this mindset, what's that going to do for the next generation? He's going to influence those in his circle.
Right. That's right. And back to, you brought up the human trafficking aspect. When we were talking to Matt Osborne from the men's advocacy group, one of the things that they talk a lot about is, like, dads don't raise their sons to be womanizers. They don't raise most to violate women's rights. They don't raise them to do that. But you know what does happen is, like, the sexual jokes, the things, it starts, right? It plants a seed. And if you allow that to grow, then that becomes a little bit more normalized. Yeah. And then they go to school, and then they're with their buddies, and then it escalates, and then it escalates, and it escalates. And so it's the same thing with racism. If you just allow, like, jokes like that in the house, it's a seed that you're planting, as small as it is, right? Every year that goes by, it just escalates. It's the same thing, with, really pornography in our culture, right? It starts, being, okay, hey, TV, it's okay, they're watching this. And then, okay, porn's fine, it's on your phone, and then it's this. But what does that escalate to, right? That escalates to human trafficking, right? That escalates that you have to fulfill this desire of this seed that was planted. I'm not saying everybody, but right, that's what can happen. And so as parents, it's making sure that you're very aware, because like you said, your son lives in the world that he lives in, and he soaks everything up. So if you allow a thing or two here or there, those if watered, can grow to be something, a much bigger issue, or a lack of leadership.
Right. And from that leadership standpoint, less extreme than, sexual, trafficking and all that, is raising good leaders.
Yeah.
Because our kids, maybe one of our kids is going to be the next, politician, right? Raising them to be good leaders, raising them to stand up for what they believe in, raising them to stand up for those that can't defend themselves, raising them to serve other people.
Yeah. And that's where you go.
These are all things that we can do for our kids.
Yeah.
Because again, today we can't change the world, but the next generation.
It doesn't only apply to just our kids. And again, I get, you take care of yourself, you take care of your family, you take care of that's closest to you, and that's where you can make the biggest impact, right? But it also goes to your workplace. People need to see who you are. And if you're serving the community, I can't tell you how many people I hear out there that do a lot of talking about, I'm going to do this and I do that, and they don't. They don't go back to South Dallas. They don't go into these inner cities. They don't, help out these charities that are in need, like seriously in need. And everybody's like, well, they want money. No, sometimes they just want your time. Just like sacrifice your time to come out and make a difference. And I'm telling you, once you're there and you're making a difference, I'm going to one today for the Salvation Army. And through that, like, my mind is, okay, I'm going to go there. This is not benefiting me. In the end, it is. But early on, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to have a good time with these kids. I'm going to put a smile on their face. And that's the joy. And in the end, the joy comes back to me, right? It comes back to me. But it's also my job to take my kids, friends, you guys, get you guys more involved. I mean, that's how you build a positive community. If you just think that you're just going to just do it yourself and you're going to make an impact just by yourself, you got to carry people. What do you always say, Todd? I heard you say it the other day again. A rising tide lifts all boats, man. It's our job, man. It's our job to do so.
Yeah, I agree with that. That it's about, that was going to be the third, is serving people. And I'm one of those people that I talk about it, but I don't do it near enough. Not near enough. And you're exactly right. Me going about my business and living in my own little world and taking care of my family and that's not going to do anything. That's what we've been doing the last 50 years. Is we've just been staying in our lane, staying in our lane. And it's so uncomfortable to get out of that lane. That's why most of us avoid it. That's why I avoid it, because it's uncomfortable. But I'm realizing as I get older, me going into the work every single day and coming home and raising my kids well and doing all that, that's great. That's a great start, but that's not enough.
Right.
If I'm not pouring into my community, what am I doing in my community?
That's right.
The town of Prosper, what am I doing for the town of Prosper? And then in turn for, Dallas or whatever community you're in, what are you doing for the community? How are you giving back? Right. Because if we all just stay in our own lane and we do our own thing, we take care of ourselves, and everybody has that perspective, and that's all they're going to do, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, you can't grow, man. I'm telling you. Like every day, we talked about it the other day. I come in, I wake up. I live in a world where, as a black man, I have to go through different experiences, right? More of because of the business world that I'm in. It's call it what it is. It's more of a white man's world, right? So I have to go through those experiences, and it gives me a different perspective of how I look at you two guys and everyone else, right? Because I'm seeing it. I see morally you guys are correct, right? I'm seeing it, who you guys are. There's a lot of people that are my color that never have the experience, nor vice versa. As white people that don't go back and have the experience of where black people are sitting or people of color are sitting all together, they don't understand because they won't take the time to understand.
Yeah.
That's how you grow. That's leadership, brother. I mean, across the board, you grow, you take a different perspective, you start to understand, and now I'm a much bigger person. I'm a much better person because I'm seeing both sides.
Yeah, and I think on a broader scale, it speaks to more of getting out of whatever environment you're in.
Yeah.
So if you want to drill it down to skin color, fine.
Yeah.
I think more broad terms of economic status. What's your environment like? Yeah. If I grow up in the suburbs, no matter what color I am, if I grow up in the suburbs, I have a completely different life than somebody who grows up in the inner city.
That's right.
So I need to expose myself as somebody that grew up in the suburbs to what's going on down there in the inner city.
Right.
And how can I serve that community, right? Or vice versa. If I'm in the inner city and I want to get out and I want to do more with my life, how can I expose myself to other trains of thought and other walks of life? Yeah. All right, guys, I want to take a quick break from this episode and thank our sponsor, Choctaw Casino and Resort. If you're looking for a weekend getaway or just a night out with your buddies, head on up. If you're in the Dallas area, head on up I-75 to Durant, Oklahoma. Check out their brand new expansion. It's amazing. We were up there a couple of months ago. We're actually going up there next weekend. Aaron Watson is playing on the 17th, and then Kansas is playing on the 18th, the band Kansas. So going to be a great time. We'll actually be up there interviewing Aaron for the podcast, and then he's performing that weekend as well. So get yourself up to Choctaw Casino Resort. It's always a good time up there. Now back to the episode. And so we talk about it every time.
Well, what's the key? What's the key? And I think we need to drill down to what's the key. Is that the key is, and in my opinion, is we don't want to be uncomfortable.
That's what
We just don't.
Couldn't agree more.
We do not. We want to be comfortable. We want to be able to go to work, do our thing, stay in our little bubbles, and we don't want to be put ourselves or our kids in uncomfortable positions.
And to me, that's my personality. My personality is to stay in my lane. And some people have the person, I'm going to speak up if I see any injustice whatsoever. Right. That's just who I am. I'm going to speak up. I'm more in line of, hey, just do your thing, keep quiet, play behind the scenes. That's my personality. So for me, you're right. It is uncomfortable to get out there and to step up and to serve and to do those type of things. It's getting out of my comfort zone. Some people are more prone to do it. Tyler, you're more prone to do that. You're just a servant-minded person. That's a little more foreign to me. So for me, and I can't say we're all uncomfortable or we all need to get, for me personally, I need to get more uncomfortable. I need to do things outside of my world that are going to serve my community.
Yeah. So the comfort idea, and this is not attacking, obviously, after you, because I want to be very clear about that. But what this comfortable society has created, is cowards. We don't have people. We don't have people that stand firm in their beliefs anymore because they're afraid of criticism. They're afraid of attack. They're afraid of persecution. Yep. They're afraid of, I think like the Apostle Paul, right? Like right after Jesus' time, and he had no fear of death, and he would challenge, in jail.
Stood on his faith.
And he did. And we just don't have that anymore. Now, with that is, I'm not saying you stand up and fight against everything that you don't believe in. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is do what you believe with conviction, but with grace too. Yeah. So real life story, and for the last 10 minutes I've been debating if I was going to share this story or not, is I just got back from my dearest friend on the planet's bachelor party. Best man in his wedding, and I planned it, and there was an activity that was planned for one of the days that one of the other guys who's also a great, great dude that was planned that I didn't know about, found out a week before. And it would have been really, really easy to just go along with it.
The flow, yeah.
And not have any account. We were in Mexico and not have any accountability here to it. But man, it hit me really, really hard. And as men, we really struggle with hard situations because we just want to suck in and do it by ourselves. And we don't have accountability from our brothers, and we don't have those things because our society says, hey, don't fight it. Just let it go, right? Just let it go. So ended up, ultimately, I said, hey, look, I just can't be a part of it. I can't do it. And to be honest, man, it got way harder after because it was kind of a snowball deal, and then people got upset, and it was, and everything that I was being like, hey, don't judge, don't this. And it's like, that's not it, guys. Go, if that's great. I can't, foundationally, I just can't, and I can't go. And again, every single guy that was there are great dudes. Mm-hmm. Great dudes. All but one of them I would let date my daughters. I'm just kidding. But, and we just struggle with that, man. In society, we struggle standing up, and then we struggle with how we deliver it. Mm-hmm. Because again, if you disagree, then you're attacked. But you're talking about at work, doing the right things when people are watching and when they're not watching. Because I think it's important when people are watching too, like you guys have both said. It's important for people to see that because, as parents or adults, we can influence younger people or our kids. But holy smokes, the amount of influence, the influence that I get from you two on a daily basis is crazy. So don't discount your peers, what you can do. Right. But to me, there has to be conviction. There has to be belief in something, but delivering it in a non-judgmental and graceful way so that, hey, look, I don't agree with it. I'm not going to take part in it, or I'm not going to support it. I love you. I love but I can't, this is where it stops for me. And then let's come back together and great friends.
There's nothing cowardly about that, man. That's honestly, that's taking a stance. And I'll give you guys a real quick example. I spoke at an event a couple of years ago, and the guy, I showed up. This is 2.5 years ago, pre-COVID. And I showed up, and the guy was saying, hey, he was the CEO of the company. 5 minutes before I walk up on stage to present to his 400 people that are in the audience, he says to me, hey, look, I've heard you in the past. I know you said something about faith and about your walk, and I just appreciate it if you wouldn't do that, right? And it went back, and my mom, a friend of my mother's years ago, used to always say, you stand on your faith. Mm-hmm. Stand on your faith, right? Her name was Flo. She used to always say that, baby, you stand on your faith. If someone asks you a question or say something, if that's what, if those are your values, you stand on it, right? And he said that to me before I went on. I said, then I'm not going to go on. Mm-hmm. Because if I feel like I need to say it, then I'm going to say it. Mm-hmm. If someone asks me a question in the Q&A about my faith, I'm going to say it. And he's like, all right, man, just go ahead. And, and I was like, no, man. I mean, look, I think when you have faith, you have grace, right? I mean, that makes you that much stronger. But you also have to understand what your core values are. Yeah. And if my core values are that my faith is number one, then damn it, I'm going to say I'm going to stand up on it. And if someone asks me a question or if I feel the need to mention it, then I'm going to mention it. It falls in line with my core values. And I think that's another part of what you went through over the weekend was like, it didn't fall in line with your values. Yeah. Don't feel guilty about it. It is what it is. They'll get over it.
You can't. Yeah. And it's just, it's hard because and I think and I'm going to speak to men because I think we struggle with it more than women. I think women are stronger in this aspect right now these days is we struggle with confrontation as men. Yeah. Right? We struggle, and confrontation is not a bad thing if handled the right way. I think it's a great thing. I think it promotes growth. I mean, it promotes deeper relationships. I mean, on the other side of this, no doubt, I'm closer with because all of the people that were like, man, I respect that, dude. Right. Like, I really, truly do, because you know how hard it is. But confrontation is fine, but men, we struggle with confrontation because, again, it's just easier just to kind of be quiet and slip behind. And I'm not saying keep doing the right thing and be quiet, because there's nothing wrong with that. Because I think great leaders do way before they say. Like, great leaders are the ones that are actually out there doing it, and a lot of times not calling attention to themselves. But man, like, for everybody out there, like, don't sacrifice what you truly believe in. And whether it's being a believer in your faith, or it's a moral issue, whether it's a family issue, whether it's a work issue, whatever it is, like, and you firmly believe in it, like, don't give in. But you don't have to be that a-hole that attacks everybody, makes everybody feel bad either. Right. Because what has that done? All you've done then at that point is you push people away, and you've lessened the influence that you have on those people.
Yeah. Yeah. So we covered what can we do personally? Take care of yourself, take care of your family, right? Getting a little more uncomfortable in service, how you serve people. If we really want to get uncomfortable, and this speaks more in line with leadership and decision makers that we elect, and how we can change that. If you really want to get uncomfortable, you do things like coach. This is not as uncomfortable, especially for us because we love sports, but coaching your kids' Little League team, right? Because now you're not just influencing your son, you're influencing 9 other kids, right? And because Darren, you just said the 3 most influential, 2 of them were your coaches, right? Yeah. Right? Yeah. So those coaches had a major impact on you. So get uncomfortable. This just came up with my 4-year-old son. This T-ball. He's doing T-ball this year, first time ever. And the head coach, there's a head coach, but with that age group, you need like 19 coaches out there.
100%.
And he asked if any other parents, and I cowered it away, and I didn't volunteer. And so other parents are now leading and coaching that team. And I see that as a missed opportunity. I'm like, dang, that's a missed opportunity. That's 9 other kids I could have helped impact. Yeah. But because I didn't want to get uncomfortable, because the practice is at an inconvenient time during the week, I justified to say I couldn't make it. Right? But that's one thing I could have done to step up and be uncomfortable. Coaching my kid's team, because now I have the opportunity to impact others more than just my kid. But even beyond that, a little more uncomfortable. What about your school board? What about your, like the local government, the local PTA? What about those type things? Yeah. Right? Trust me, it sucks because of time and energy and effort, and not everybody's called to do that. I get that. I'm not saying everybody should.
But everybody complains.
Everybody complains.
Right?
Yeah. My uncle's a great example of this. He joined the school board a couple of years ago in my hometown, and I'm so thinking back now, I'm so proud of that, because he wasn't just one of those, I'm just going to sit around and complain. I'm actually going to do something about this. Right. I'm going to join, have a position of impact, and really actually do something instead of just jacking my jaws.
Right. Yeah.
So get involved with your local community.
And what do y'all joke about in the office all the time?
That you're going to run for mayor one day.
Yeah.
And you know what? Inside every fiber of my being says, hell no. No chance. Because in my automatic answer, right? And it's BS, but I feel it. It's like, no, I love my family too much to put them through politics. And that's what's so hard, is we have so many people that are so scared of being a public servant because of the scrutiny, the hours, the fights, just the nonsense just from people. So it's like, we've scared away potentially great leaders.
Yeah, the way the current way it's set up, it's not about public service. It's about serving myself.
Yes.
And so we're left with those that are wanting to serve. So that's my point is, maybe you don't have to run for mayor of Frisco, but maybe you're on some board in Frisco that has influence.
Right.
An advisory board, or you're joining the board of a, Make-A-Wish, or you're doing, Darren, you're great at that. You're on all sorts of boards and influential positions.
Yeah.
Those are the things I think of to take that next step of discomfort, because again, not everybody's going to be the mayor. Not everybody needs to be the mayor.
That's right.
But how can you do your part to at least impact the person that's going to be the mayor?
Yeah.
Because maybe your kid is that one day.
Yeah.
Right?
So true.
So it's taking that next step of discomfort. This sucks personally.
Yeah.
I'm making a sacrifice here, but it's for the good of my community.
That's right.
My community is going to be better because people like me are stepping up that don't have to, but want to, because I'm tired of living my lane. I'm tired of living my bubble. Things need to change, and it starts with me.
Think about if we had 10 more people per town do what we just said, right? One is raise your kids right. Two, or raise yourself, make sure you take care of yourself, personal accountability, all that stuff. Two, raise your kids right. Create great leaders after you've already shown them what a great leader looks like. Encourage them to do that. Show empathy, right, to people. Stand up for your beliefs, but also use logic and use some emotional intelligence on understanding how people work, and that if I just start screaming at somebody in a city council meeting, nobody's going to hear it. Nobody's going to receive it. Right. So what if we had 10 more people per town, then go and serve and instill logic in a seemingly illogical system right now? Right. Imagine the change that could actually be done if people go in, hear people's positions and stances, process it before reacting, collaborate on something, and then come out with a decision that works for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Imagine that.
Imagine if 10 people did that in every single community.
10
how
people
much
step
different
up.
things would look. Right. And again, that's a very uncomfortable scenario to put yourself in. If you're not called or you're not ready for that big of a step, because I'm not sure if I am, but what do we all get to do every 4 years and every 2 years and every city council?
You get to vote.
We get to vote.
Yeah, you get to vote.
So another thing you can do is be more educated on what you're voting for. Don't just vote for this guy because he's blue or this guy because he's red. Actually educate yourself on the policies that are going to affect your everyday life. I know we all, especially here in Texas, we live in a very free state. So you really could just live your life and never pay attention to anything else, and you're going to be just fine. Yeah, you might pay a little bit more in gas here or there. Yeah, you might pay a little bit more in, consumer products. But for the most part, you could probably stay in your lane. But what about those that don't live in Texas? Or what about the future of Texas if we continue to have that apathetic mindset and we don't know everything about it and we don't educate ourselves on who we're voting for? And again, I'm talking to myself. This whole episode is I'm speaking to Ben Gibbs.
And Texas is already going there, honestly. I mean, this is the closest election in the history of the state of Texas from red to blue. We literally, as a state, almost switched. And I'm not saying, people that are moving from California, in droves, they're problems, because I'm one of them. What I'm saying, though, is if you come in and the community is just apathetic and not doing anything, I'm going to step up, and this is what I know.
Right.
And they're going to, you know what I mean?
The loud ones are going to win out of that.
So if you don't believe it, you can't complain when change is made because you didn't step up.
Absolutely. Like, we don't want to join the fight. You don't want to join. We go through that all our lives, right? Most people do a lot of talking on the outside, but they don't ever want to join the fight. That's the only way you're going to force change. We can talk about staying in our lanes, doing this and doing more for the community. Only way you do more for the community is to jump in. You got to jump in.
Join the fight.
You got to join the fight. If you sit on the sidelines, what happens every Sunday during the football season, right? Game gets played Monday morning. What do we have? Monday morning?
Armchair quarterbacks.
Armchair quarterbacks just sitting there and criticizing. We're no different when it comes to politics.
If you're just sitting there at work bitching to your coworker about all the problems in the country but not doing anything about it, you're just as bad. And I'm just as guilty of that. And that's really hit me in the forehead the last few weeks and months as I see, man, look at all these problems. Look at all these issues. Look at this bad leadership. Well, if I'm not willing to step out and get uncomfortable and do anything about it, then that's never going to change.
That's right.
We're just going to keep raising generation after generation that does the same thing.
That's right.
Whereas me, I need to get uncomfortable and I need to step out and I need to do something about it. Yeah. Again, I don't see myself personally as a mayor of Prosper. That's never going to be me I don't think. Right. Who knows what happens. But I can do those little things.
That's right.
But I'll say this, and I want to make sure I say this before we wrap up. If you do and you're willing to join the fight, whatever fight that may be, right? Be prepared for the scrutiny. Mm-hmm. Don't think that you're just going to enter the fight and they're not going to throw spears at you.
No matter how good, noble,
how noble you are, know that it's coming. It's coming. It's okay, but it's okay. Yeah. As long as you stick to your values and you're morally right, it's okay.
And guess what? And here's what happens too, is because of all the scrutiny, if you do step into a role like that, in order to get voted in or get a position of leadership or influence, you have to look perfect. You have to act perfect. Here's the deal. There is not a single person on this planet that is. So don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to everybody else. Be real. Be authentic. Be open about it, right? But expect it. Don't be surprised when they dig into your past. Oh, they're coming. And when you're 19, you posted something stupid on MySpace or whatever it was back then. It is what it is. But guess what? Own it, and then move forward.
Yeah, that's right. You know how refreshing that would be to hear a leader, somebody who has true influence, admit that they were wrong, admit that they made a mistake, and say, yes, this is what I did wrong. I did A, B, and C wrong, but this is what I'm going to do to fix it. Yeah. I don't have all the answers today, right? Just admit that. That would go so far. Yeah. That humility, that ego check would go so far.
That's right. And one person, in political beliefs aside, one person that I've gained a lot of respect for on a political stance is our Governor Abbott. And here's why: is when everything around him, like nationally, is telling him to go one way, he has stood foundationally on what he believes is best for our state. So whether it's gun reform. Oh, hey, you guys are starting to do buybacks. Yeah, guess what? We're actually going to legalize all guns, and you don't even have to have a license to carry in Texas anymore. Oh, yeah. Oh, you guys want suppressors taken off? Yeah, okay. If you buy silencers in the state of Texas, as long as they're built here, you can buy them here. I mean, he's going against the grain. Whether you believe about it or not, whether it's vaccination. I mean, it would have been very easy when Dallas County sued Governor Abbott for imposing, hey, you can't make children wear masks in school. It's their choice. It would have been very easy for him just to say, all right, guys, everybody, you guys can just, if you want to implement it, you can. But no, he fought it. Again, I'm not saying one way or the other. I'm just saying he has conviction and he's following through with it. And he's going to go take it to the very end because he believes in it. But guess what? He's also the same guy that says, hey, look, I'm fighting for people's rights to choose to get vaccinated or not. I chose to get vaccinated because that was really important to me, but I'm not going to make it important for you if it's not important to you. And so again, he does it with a way of grace. He does it with a way of like, listen, this is what our Constitution was written on, and I'm going to let you choose. I'm not going to force you. I can't tell you how many friends I have in California and then even here in Texas that are literally on the verge of getting fired just because they're like, I'm not comfortable with it. I don't know why. I'm not comfortable with the vaccination. I'm not there yet. And they're going to lose their job. They're going to lose their health insurance. They're going to lose all those things. And again, for someone to say, listen, we don't force you to get the flu vaccine. We don't force you to get the hepatitis vaccine. We don't force you to get polio vaccine. Okay. So we can't force you to do this. And again, this is not me taking a stance, but the position he takes is just a position of selflessness because he obviously feels one way, but he's fighting for other people's rights.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would just hope in that scenario that person has done their research.
That's right.
If it's something if you're going to stand on that hill on for that, at least have gone through it thoroughly before you make that decision.
Because again, it's hard. It's hard to really dig into that.
Right. Yeah. So, I don't know. I think, again, my mind always takes things back to fitness. It's like if you're trying to lose 100 pounds, you're not going to lose 100 pounds day one. It's literally impossible. So what little steps can you do to take towards that weight loss? Yeah. Same thing with this. We're not going to change the entire world. We're not going to change our leadership in one day. What small incremental steps can we take that over time will lead to big changes? That's right. It may not feel like it. It's going to be hard. You're going to get scrutinized. Yep. You're going to have to get uncomfortable. You have to do things you normally wouldn't do. I'm talking to myself. But eventually those things are going to make the change.
Yeah.
And it's going to lead to a less apathetic, less just stay in my lane type mentality.
This is a great topic, man. It's a great topic because we're seeing it. We're living it every day. And again, it starts with us. We're us three sitting up here. I mean, we're talking the talk. We got to walk the walk as well. And, hopefully those that are the audience that is listening, just take a piece of that. I mean, and apply it to, it doesn't have to just apply it to serving your community. It could be just doing things within your own household and seeing that. Like, you're not going to force change day one, day two. Just seeing it over time. If you do something, apply yourself, whatever it is, stand on your values.
That's right.
And push it through.
That's right.
And
Good stuff.
T-bones.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I think we wrapped it up. I think we got it, guys. Yeah. Just encourage you all just to be strong. Look beyond yourself. You're not the only opinion on this planet that matters.
You need some soft music.
I know.
When you say this, go ahead, talk to me.
And I'm proud to be an American.
Something good. Just, silky smooth.
How you feeling today?
I feel great, man. Sit next to you guys. It's awesome. All right.
Yeah, that's a good ending there. Guys, we're on YouTube. Darren, where can people find us?
They can find us on the Darren Woodson Show on Instagram. They can find us on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter as well, Darren Woodson 28. Find us on YouTube and any application or any platform that
plays
podcasts. We're on.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Appreciate
you.
you.
Have a great rest of the week.